sit down, I wanna ask you some questions about the planet and its future direction. If you imagine the sea, is it coming or going? There's a tree in your mind, is it shrinking or growing? Take me to your river, but don't wash me down. Name your favorite bird and where it was found. Can I take a breather before I answer? Open the window so we'll have a chance for. Well, here comes the wind. Here comes the wind. Here comes the wind. Lean right in. Lean right in. I'll leave you this cage for collecting data. Hold on to your spade for a system of barter. Develop a plan for your family and friends. Beware of the ways the mind can bend. Record the butterflies and the frogs. Sketch the lichen on the fallen log. Can I take a breather before I answer? Open the window so we'll have a chance for. Here comes the wind. Here comes the wind. Here comes the wind. Now take this knife, slides into the ocean. Know that the sun is sending you
Here Comes the Wind. Luke Buddha, one of the founders of very successful Phoenix Foundation, is about to release his third solo album in collaboration with, among many others, New Zealand writer and musician Damien Wilkins. That track's called Here Come the Wind, and that's what you just heard, one of 3 tracks Wilkins has written the lyrics for. Luke Buddha plans to tour Buddha next month. It's the name of the album. COVID allowing, and he's here to play a few favourites. Hi, Luke. How are you? Kia ora.
Kia ora, Kim. How are
I
you?
was going to say COVID allowing. I always say COVID allowing. Are you worried?
Yes.
Oh.
But you just gotta carry on, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're just hoping to do it. I mean, Auckland is probably the
Tricky one.
The tricky one. Yeah, but it's last. It's in November. So
giving itself time to pull itself together.
Yeah, here's hoping.
Yes. You call this a solo album, but it's absolutely full of people, including the Phoenix Foundation.
Yeah.
So where's the solo? Look, where is the solo? I'm asking you.
Well, we just heard a big old guitar solo. Actually, no.
It was a good one.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun. On the album, there's about 3 more minutes of it, so a lot of time to get sick of it. Yeah, you always bring in help, really. I mean, you always need help.
Yeah, well, I mean, you are a well-known collaborative type, aren't you?
Well, I think that's pretty natural in music. And
in New Zealand, anyway, don't you think?
Well, yeah, but I mean, music is about, a lot of the time is about playing it with other people. So even a solo album, you have to have, I'm going out on tour, I'm going with a band.
Yeah, sure, but I was thinking in New Zealand, everybody mixes and mingles so much. I mean, the Phoenix Foundation is a particular example of that, but it's quite widespread here. I get the impression more so than elsewhere.
Possibly just that's just a classic New Zealand situation where
Small population.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, especially Wellington. I would say I know I probably know all the musicians in Wellington, but that's an overstatement. But you kind of can't help but bump into people who are into the same stuff.
Sure. You've worked with Damien Wilkins before, haven't you?
Yep. I played some guitar on his last album.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where this started, really, because I find lyrics quite a challenge. The music I find reasonably just natural, just kind of comes out. Even if I try to stop it. But the lyrics are a trial. And so I was kind of chatting to him about that. And he, casually said, if you want me to write some lyrics, I could write some lyrics. And I held off for a while. I don't know. It was, I've never done that before. So I was feeling hesitant. And what happened is Here Comes the Wind was originally written, at least the instrumental, for the opening of the movie This Town, which Conrad and Sam and I from the Phoenix Foundation make music scores. So it was written for that. It was sort of at a time when we were just writing lots of music for the film to see what was going to work. And I don't even remember if I got any feedback on it. It was like, I did this, I sent it. I don't think anyone said anything about it, or maybe someone went, "Oh yeah, that's okay." And then I kind of I liked it. I never forgot about it, which is a good sign, because when you make a lot of demos, you actually forget about lots. But if you don't forget about something, that means there's something there. Anyway, I brought it back up when I was making the album, and I just couldn't. I couldn't get any lyrics going as well. So it was almost in kind of desperation that I was like, all right, Damien, you remember that casual conversation 4 years ago? It's time to make good. I sent the track to him that I'd been sitting in front of for 2 weeks trying to find some words. And basically the next day he sent me back all the lyrics, almost like he's a writer or something.
As if.
And that's the story of that song.
Interesting that a lot of these songs are probably from movie scores that you've written, are they? I mean, you do a lot of movie work, especially for Taika.
Yeah, we did Taika's first 3 movies. Well, actually, Hunt for the Wilder People was after What We Do in the Shadows, wasn't it? And we didn't really do What We Do in the Shadows. But yeah, the first 2 songs were both originally written for This Town on the album. So Here Comes the Wind and Candy, which is why Candy is the most ridiculously sort of sweet thing I've ever done, because I was writing it for the movie. And so I attempted to shut off my sort of cynical filter and just try and do something that was fitting of the sweet love that was happening on the screen. But I mean, in the end, the little cynic did show up, and I had to I had to subvert the song a little bit. But that's why that song, well, I don't know, it pushes you in a different direction when you're working on a movie, I guess.
Well, I was thinking that must be very interesting for you because it forces you, yes, to write possibly out of character things that might surprise yourself.
Very, very much so. It's a good school for music, I guess. Doing stuff for film. At one point, Conrad and Sam and I, let's just say we. I'll just say we.
Yeah.
I won't say Conrad and Sam and I every time. We did the score for a Netflix cartoon called Skylanders, and the necessary music for Skylanders was a kind of jokey orchestral. And one, I'd never done that, and two, it's not exactly how I would express myself through music if I wasn't doing the music for Skylanders. So that was an interesting lesson in itself, and they wanted very prescriptive, specific stuff. And so, yeah, I would never make bum ba bum ba bum ba 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 bum bum ba. That's the kind of music that Skylanders need.
Yeah, gotcha.
And that was interesting. 3 years of that.
Ha. It opens different parts of your brain. As
sure
does
did.
this first track you've chosen, which has got a sort of complicated backstory. It's Yellow Magic Orchestra with a song called Raideen. Now, this is Yellow Magic Orchestra is a Japanese electronic music band, very influential, and you're very keen on them. Tell me why you've chosen this track.
So, I mean, one, I absolutely love it. So that's reason number one. And reason number two, I thought it had a backstory for me personally, which is that when the Phoenix Foundation released our third album, Happy Ending, around 2007, and Taika Waititi directed 2 music videos for that, and he directed the music video for the song Bright Grey. And I had seen footage of Yellow Magic Orchestra playing Raideen on a TV show, which you can look up on YouTube and you can find it. And I was just like, look at this vibe. This is amazing.
It's very spacey, very sort of multi-dimensional.
Yeah, and also kind of just classic 80s VHS green screen effects with the band playing in front of it. And if everyone in the band was into the idea, Taika was into the idea, so we made this video that was like a very loving homage to this to Yellow Magic Orchestra playing on this TV show. And then later on, when he was making the film Boy, he was using a lounge version of the Yellow Magic Orchestra song by Senor Coconut for the scenes where Boy sees his father, Taika, kind of as the cool Michael Jackson style character.
Yeah.
There was that's the music that was there. And so then when we made the music for that scene, we were kind of trying to capture the spirit and the atmosphere of the lounge version of this song.
I said it was complicated. Let's have a listen.
Thank you.
Yellow Magic Orchestra, Rydeen, one of the picks of Luke Buddha. That's pretty weird, Luke, I think. That squelchy stuff going on there.
The synths. Yeah. I just wanted to set the tone right at the start.
No criticism implied. Weird, interesting, not weird, bad. But somebody said it sounds like, a TV theme.
Yeah, well, that's funny that they should say that, because I was going to talk about TV themes for my next track. So maybe TV themes are a theme. I don't know. That track is from 1979, which happens to be the year I was born also.
Oh, goodness me.
Which is really why I picked it.
You were born in Poland, since you mentioned it, and came here when you were 8 or 10?
8, yeah, in 1987. Good year for New Zealand, with the All Blacks winning.
Oh, I thought you meant you coming to New Zealand. We celebrate you coming to New Zealand.
And me coming.
Yeah. And you didn't have a great time until you met the aforementioned Sam Scott and Conrad Weddy.
Yeah, I mean, I've sort of chatted to that. I think it's a pretty classic. I did not speak English when I arrived, and so it took a while to settle.
How long did it take you to learn to speak English?
That's very difficult to have a tangible sense of that. But I think that by the time of high school, I was fine, and I think that it wasn't until sort of my early 20s that I still occasionally would have someone go, are you American? What's your accent? And I think it's been a long time since anyone said that, but they did still pick it up for many years. So, yeah.
Why did your parents choose New Zealand?
Do you know what? I think my dad said it was as far away from Poland as they could get.
Oh, because Poland
really
was pretty
joyful.
nasty back then.
Yeah, I don't think times were that great. No, I mean, I was 8. I don't really remember, and strangely, we haven't chatted about it that much. But my grandparents lived in Switzerland. My grandfather, they've now moved to New Zealand. They moved to New Zealand a couple of years ago at the age of 88.
Good Lord.
Yeah, it's
what
crazy.
A bold move.
Well, there's no one left in Poland, so it was sort of like, well,
good on them.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some classic Polish lines that have come out. Actually, I'm not going to go into that. My grandparents lived in... No.
You can't start. It's like starting a joke and not finishing it.
Okay, all right then. Okay, well, to give you an insight into the Polish psyche, when I was talking with my grandfather about the move, and he said, staying in Poland does not seem like a good option, and coming to New Zealand is also fraught. Easiest would be if they just died.
Oh, okay. I see.
So there you go. That's your window into the psyche of the Polish.
Yeah. Are you still there? Oh, you are still
there.
I
am.
There's an Eastern European thing that goes on there, the kind of oy vey thing, to use the Jewish expression. I don't know whether that's something that... I'm always so interested in national characteristics, and I know that there's a risk in stereotyping, but sometimes you just can see how a people share a certain attitude, can't you?
Yes. Yeah, and that's been interesting for me recently, thinking about what aspects of my character are some sort of strange remembered DNA from the Eastern European thing. I certainly, I think have often been louder than some of my New Zealand friends, and perhaps, I don't know, a bit more intense or something. And when we have been in Poland, my partner Sarah thinks that everyone is arguing the whole time, and sometimes if you're there, you forget that when Polish people speak to each other in Poland, the volume and tone is often, and the speed is much faster than your average New Zealand English speaker. So, and my mates used to say, how come when you call up your mum on the phone, you suddenly start talking heaps louder and more intensely? And it just happens. Like, I don't know, like Italians, as far as a generalization goes, faster, louder, more intense. I don't know why. But speaking of generalizations like that, no, you see, I keep getting myself into trouble. Let's not
go on.
Let's not do
you
that.
Can't, if you've got no gatekeeper, that's no problem. Let it out.
Okay. All right. So again, hanging out with my grandparents can be interesting, because definitely that is how my grandmother can remember. Like she is like it's a window into an old European attitude, I guess, where the Polish are like this and the Russians are like that, and and it just happens. See, I'm going to get in trouble for this, so thanks.
That's all right.
Yeah, and so it's just interesting it's just a window into that old world, I guess, for me, living as I do in a little bubble in green voting Aro Valley.
Do you still speak Polish?
Yes, but I can slightly struggle to with anything more sophisticated, I guess, because I was 8, so I guess I still speak like an 8-year-old. It's a very difficult language.
Yeah,
I mean,
I gather
that's been talked about, but not just the pronunciation, which is really difficult, but also the grammar is insane, and you have to. There's a formal and informal language. So when I have been in Poland, since in New Zealand, I never really talk to anyone that I don't know. So I don't actually know how to speak in the more formal language. So if I'm in a shop, I've offended people before by being too casual and using the wrong form of language, basically. Like you don't say, have you got some of this? In Polish, you'd be like, does the establishment, or does the mister have, you have to kind of form it like that.
Oh, how interesting. How interesting. Look, we have to play another track. This is a French duo, a French dance music duo called Air, with a track called Sexy Boy, which was their big breakthrough, right? And as you mentioned, it relates to television in that people might recognise it from goodness knows how many television series it was used in, right?
Yes. Yeah, lots, I think. So I'm really glad that we've moved on to music. So
so you're off the hook.
So I don't get into trouble with my mum.
Look, the trouble's been
anymore.
done. Just what goes on the air stays on the air. Sadly.
Yeah, that's right. Stays on the air. So I feel like I've chosen the most obvious Air song. And the reason for this was because it was kind of like a watershed moment for me. I have a very distinct memory of sitting at, I think it was Georgie Pie at the time, at the Basin Reserve in Wellington in 1998, late night, probably having drunk beer, which is why I would be having a pie in the middle of the night as the time-honored tradition. Anyway, they had a TV, they had MTV on, and Sexy Boy played. And, at the time I was really into heavy metal and grunge, but was also interested in other music. I'm possibly coming to the end by that stage, but it really felt like when I heard this music and when I saw the video, it felt like a really immediately hugely influential moment. I didn't know what was making the sounds. It wasn't music that was, angsty men playing loud guitars and trying to do the most impressive drum fill. There was something else going on. it's like a connection to I don't know, like a loving homage to their influences, which some of which, you know, it sounds like 70s sitcom music. Anyway, so yeah, I feel like the Phoenix Foundation were so hugely influenced by the album that this was from. You know, that's when I bought my Rhodes electric piano, and we learnt about synthesizers. And in a way, I feel like we've been trying to make music as, you know, kind of like air or as good as air since we first heard them.
That's Air with Sexy Boy. I'm talking to Luke Buddha. Well, thanks, Luke. Everybody's shouting at me in Polish now.
Oh, they...
Got no idea what they're saying, but it's in capital letters. Passionate people, the Poles.
Mm-hmm.
There is a story which I would like you to elaborate on about The Simpsons. And there's a song called Everyone is Horrid Except Me and Possibly You. on
Yeah.
which you played guitar. Now, New Zealand had quite a big presence in this particular episode of The Simpsons, parodying Morrissey, because I think Brett McKenzie wrote some of the spoof songs as well, and the ubiquitous Benedict Cumberbatch even does the voiceover. How did this come about?
Well, it came about through Brett McKenzie, of course. So they asked him to write the songs. He wrote them, and then he just roped in his Wellington friends to record the songs. And then he was asked to make one of the songs a bit longer. So I think it was actually on like Anzac Day where, quite hilariously, I was making Anzac biscuits when he called and he said, I need a guitar solo. So then whilst I was baking Anzac biscuits, I ran down to the garage, which I think I was taking to my in-laws. I ran down to the garage to record the guitar solo. And that's how that happened. And I am incredibly chuffed that that opportunity landed in my lap.
So hang on,
hard
the
work of Brett McKenzie.
guitar solo that you polished off in your garage, still chewing on your Anzac biscuit, is the very guitar that is on the song that's on the Simpsons episode.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, and in classic casual Kiwi style,
Yes.
I guess.
This is the Simpsons episode. I haven't seen it, but I'm told that it parodies Morrissey, who it portrays as a brooding, militant vegan musician called
now eats meat.
Quillaby, and now has turned into a mad meat-eating xenophobe. Morrissey was very unhappy. What's new, you may say, but nevertheless, Morrissey was particularly unhappy and said he'd sue if it weren't so expensive.
Well, the episode was pretty mean to him, and he probably deserved it, really.
Do you not like Morrissey?
Oh, I have certainly absolutely loved the music of the Smiths and the music of Morrissey in my life, but he has, I don't know the details. I can't give you the quotes right now, but he has expressed sympathies with some pretty xenophobic sentiments, which obviously, as a Polish immigrant, hit pretty close to home, and I find deeply unpleasant.
I wonder what specifically he was going to sue about then. Maybe it was the meat-eating business.
Yeah, maybe he just, I don't know, maybe he just thought that the way he gets attention is by being a bit of an irritating prat, and so that's what he did.
He sure does take himself terribly, terribly seriously, and that's always a bit of a sign, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Come on. I guess it was mean.
Don't you get us sued? Don't you get us sued? Because he'd certainly have enough money to sue us. Doesn't take much money to sue us, I don't think.
No, he's the best. He's really...
I love him. I love him. I've always loved him, and I wish that, people should all be as miserable as Morrissey because, God knows, look at the world.
Well, definitely his miserable and kind of nasty lyrics I have identified with at times. But then sort of after, in retrospect, I'm now wondering that when he's singing some of those lines that sound like this kind of, I don't know, desperate, miserablest humor, maybe he's just a bit of a nasty guy, and that's actually, maybe there's
I don't think that can be true, Luke.
Mm.
No, I certainly don't think that could be true. I've always spoken very, very well of Morrissey, and I'm sure he's absolutely charming. He's just pretending really well not to be. That's my
right,
thing.
Yes. Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right, I'm with you, 100%.
Thank you. I wanted to ask you, just by the way, whether you saw that documentary about Clive Davis called The Soundtrack of Our Lives. The only reason I'm asking is because I saw it the other day. And Clive Davis, record producer, A&R executive, You know, everybody raves about him, Whitney Houston and Barry Manilow, but also, you know, Aretha Franklin, like wide range.
Okay.
Have you heard of him?
I'm really just, this is a terrible moment where I have to say, nah.
But you see, I had never...
I've disappointed a lot of my friends at that moment.
Well, maybe you have, but I've never heard of him either. And I watched this documentary and thought, how come I've never heard of this guy? He's a very, very straight Jewish chap who trained as a lawyer. His parents, you know, you're either a lawyer or a doctor. He trained as a lawyer. Then he fell into the music business. Absolutely straight guy. And he made friends, lifelong friends, with all these, you know, musos. And then in his 60s, I think, he decided that he was bisexual, and off he went down there. He's still wearing his suit and tie. He's the most extraordinary character. Anyway, that's nothing to do with anything.
So worth a watch?
It's definitely worth a watch. It's called, what did I say? It's called The Soundtrack of Our Lives, which is based on an autobiography that he wrote. And also the name of a song done by someone, I can't remember that either. Anyway.
Probably someone that he signed, right?
Oh, it's possible. Anyway, I'm sorry to take up so much time with that rave. Your track next is Thundercat. That is the track we are going to play now. And again, I'd never heard of Thundercat, but Brad, who is our operator today, says Thundercat is great. And you say Thundercat is the most exciting musical talent in the world right now. Hello. Why?
Well, to me, yes, probably. Because, we were talking about people taking themselves too seriously just before, and that's something that can't be, he cannot be accused of. What I find exciting about Thundercat is he's a 100% preposterously amazing musical virtuoso on the bass, but he does not let his virtuosity get in the way of a good tune. And he does, you know, sometimes those people who are really excellent at their instrument forget about music, I think. That's a wide accusation, but sometimes they get too deep into going faster, etc. And they look like they're serious when they're playing it. Whereas with Thundercat, they're always good tunes. And if he does do a really fast run, he looks like he thinks it's hilarious and it's so much fun. I don't know. I love the fact that it sounds like it's played. So what I mean by that is it's very easy these days to clean up every recording. You can just go in to any music that you've recorded and you can put it all into tune and you can put it all into time, perfect time, and that's fine. I'm not a fundamentalist. You can do whatever you want. If it sounds cool at the end, I don't care what process you did. I don't sort of subscribe to you have to have a particular authentic process thing. But what I do like about Thundercat is it sounds like the rough edges have been left in, but it does sound to me like everyone who's playing the music is exceptional at playing the music, which is a lot more complicated than it first seems to be. And this is just a really fun tune, and it has a hilarious video. So if you haven't seen the video, I suggest that you watch it. It is hilarious when you watch that. Yes. With his
Have you just said that he's very good at pretending to be authentic?
No. I said no. No, he's very good at being extremely good. He's very good at being a virtuoso who doesn't take it too seriously, and that he doesn't clean up the rough edges on his recordings.
All right, but he doesn't put the rough edges back in again, just to prove that he's got... Hey?
No. He's just left it. He's just left it. Well, I don't know, but that sort of sounds like to me.
Let's have a listen.
I feel kind of fly standing next to you, baby girl. How do I look in my do-rag? Would you tell me the truth? Stay with me. and I'm making love to you. Hold me close and let me squeeze you tight through the night. But baby girl, how do I look in my do-rag? Would you tell me the truth? Do you like my new whip? Watch me go zoom, zoom. Baby girl, how do I look in my do-rag? Would you tie the trees? Stay with me and love me through the night. Endlessly. I just wanna know how you feel. Tell me, am I doing it right? I may be covered in cat hair, but I still smell good. Baby, let me know, how do I look in my do-rag? Don't lie to me, let me rock you all night long. I'm trying to impress you, girl. Let me know, how do I look in my do-rag? I'm trying to get intimate. Let me love you like you've never been before, baby. You don't have to like my video games or my comic books, but baby girl, how do I look in my do-rag? Did I tie it right? Did you wear that dress just for me? 'Cause I'm trying to smash, baby girl, I'm smashing my do-rag. 'Cause it's only right. Do you like the way my ice drips in the light? Baby girl, do you like me in my do-rag? Let me know. Would you let me know? Let me know, girl. Let's make love until we fall asleep. I like the way you feel next to me. Baby, you look so good in this moonlight. Stay with me and love me through the night. Baby, let's make love until we fall asleep.
That's Thundercat with Dragon Ball Durag. And as Luke Butter says, the video to go with that is very funny. I've just been quizzing Brad Warrington, who is our operator today, Luke, about why he loves Thundercat so, and he says that Thundercat is a supremely good bass guitarist, and he can also come out front with his bass guitar, whereas most bass guitarists are more in the background. What do you say to that?
Well, that's true, but I think that I would have just come back with saying that being an excellent bass player and being in the background are not
Mutually exclusive.
Thank you. Yes, that being supportive, being a very supportive, intuitive member of the ensemble, and not taking the limelight sometimes is actually a very important role.
His album, from which that track is from, It Is What It Is, won the Grammy last year, I think. I love it when people pick things I've never ever heard of. I mean, I'm sorry. Where have I been, you may say? Under a rock, not to hear of Thundercat, but I'd never heard of Thundercat.
Well, I feel like I certainly don't feel like I have my finger on the pulse of popular culture at all. I don't really. I know Thundercat. Thundercat's not a huge. He's not huge. I think it's. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's not even a new. That's my attempt at playing something contemporary, and it's from last year. It's so last year, you know.
Yeah, but that's the thing now, isn't it? That music is ageless. Everybody is listening to everything.
Yeah. That is that's one of the few benefits, I think, of the whole streaming debacle, is that you can kind of access whatever you fancy.
Yeah. I mean, as a consumer, I just think it's a miracle. As a musician, you must find it, well, as you say, a very mixed blessing indeed.
Well, yeah. I mean, what I do basically to deal with it is that I buy everyone in my family vinyl for birthdays and Christmases, and that is my contribution to the local record shops, Slowboat, and that's the way I feel better about using Spotify, basically.
And are these...
So there's an idea. There's an idea for everyone.
Yeah, vinyl.
Christmas,
Vinyl.
birthdays.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Of course, there are the cognoscenti who still have their record players, but some people no longer have them. They'd have to go out and buy one. Is it new vinyl?
But there's plenty around.
Is it new vinyl or old vinyl that you give?
I buy new stuff for presents, and probably old stuff for myself. For myself.
Is your eponymous new album going to be on vinyl?
Yes. Yeah, you can. It's, in fact, if you are feeling very excited about that idea, you can go and you can buy it right now. I'm so glad that you asked that question. We'll have a commercial break. Very well. You mean go online, don't you? I do, yes.
Right now. Vinyl is such a quaint thing, because you would think that the CD is the last word. I mean, it's indestructible and it goes and blah, blah, blah. But vinyl, that you have to turn over. Do you love it because of the sound of it, or do you love it because of its associations?
I think all of those things. The object itself is cool. I don't know.
The smell of it. I mean, I can still smell what a new vinyl album smelt like when it came out of its sleeve. That smell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't that odd how you can remember smells?
I think smells are very memory evocative.
Do they still smell like that? I don't know. I haven't opened a new vinyl record for so long.
Yeah, well, I actually opened one of mine recently as they arrived, and I wanted one of these vinyls you can
buy online.
Sorry, just to have a look, and it was great. I always find it very difficult and stressful taking the little plastic seal that's on them.
Yep.
It's one of those things that's designed to feel, like it's so hard to take that off. Like, I just feel like I'm going to damage the record or the cover because I can't quite peel the plastic off. So that's my main memory of that, is that I was quite tense about not damaging my brand new record.
Well, that's the thing.
Which it's not very romantic.
No.
Sorry about that.
And the anxiety resulted in the invention of the CD, eventually, I imagine. But no, we want to go back to those anxiety moments.
They look much cooler than a CD. There's no denying it.
No, beautiful. I used to have a boyfriend who insisted that you should always buy 2 copies of an LP, one to hang on the wall and one to play.
Oh, yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, I think that if that's a valid tactic, and that means selling more records.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
So yeah, I think everyone should buy 2 copies from now on. If you don't buy 2 copies, you don't know, you're not cool.
Joel Tobeck has emailed us to say that you looked after him when they were shooting the gaming scene in Eagle versus Shark, and his partner had just told him we were about to have our first child. I was, of course, happy at the news, but also very shocked. And I remember sitting in our trailer, me dressed as a spider and Luke as a teddy bear, with Luke saying, "It will be okay." So thanks from Joel, and thanks from me It's been lovely talking to you, Luke Buddha. Best of luck, fingers crossed, for the tour.
Yeah, thank you. I've had a great time. Thanks, Kim. Thank you,
Same.
everyone.